All right, we're back with another review. This time it's Army of the Dead, directed by, produced by, cinematography by Zach Snyder, written by Zach Snyder. I can't remember the co-writer, but off the top of my head, apologies. But this is a Zack Snyder show, and as Netflix put out on their Twitter, this is the Snyder Cut, which I thought was pretty funny and clever.
Yeah.
Um, Nick, what were your thoughts on this film as a whole? And by the way, this is a spoiler review, just so you guys know.
It's really funny that this came out the same year as the Snyder Cut because this is on such a different wavelength than Justice League, than Man of Steel, like even like 300. This is on a different like, and I haven't seen his first zombie film, Dawn of the Dead, yet, so I don't know if there's similarities, but this is his most like sort of balls to the wall, like insane, like kind of like um craziest type film. I feel just in tone wise, and I think it was pretty like entertaining. This was the man behind me, Dave Bautista. I really enjoyed him. I enjoyed a lot of the just the cast as a whole. I think I think it was fun just seeing the whole concept come together. You know, zombie heist in the middle of Las Vegas. Um, and like just a lot, also like a lot of the action, especially is going towards like the third act when everything was like going wrong in classic heist action logic. Everything was going wrong. I think it was like just a pretty solid like entertaining time. We clocked in at like what, 2.5, something like that, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I think I was like 2.5 hours. I think for me, like I was like entertained all the way, and it was just a different vibe from his more like usual like very like mythological like epics type thing. So it was nice to see that sort of him just go for that more insane just action film type feel.
Yeah, and I know he said if the fan reception is good enough, there's our Army of the Dead too.
I'd be down for that.
But I'll get into my side. I think you're more positive than I am on this film, to be perfectly honest.
That's fair, yeah.
I I say overall I do like the film,
Hmm.
but I do have a decent amount of problems with it.
That's fair.
And because you hit most of the positives I had, I'll run off some of the positives I had. Zombies look great. I love the conceptual idea for the zombies.
Hmm.
Not humanizing them, but kind of creating this sort of culture within them that
Yeah,
really advances the plot and makes it more interesting.
just different
Uh,
from usual like hordes of zombies, as in like Walking Dead or I guess the original Dawn of the Dead. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, and it creates more of a mythos, and you're wondering like what's behind these zombies, right? Because it was obviously a government experiment of some kind.
Right.
Which I think that stuff is all really really interesting, and stuff that I thought really helped create a
Hmm.
more immersive story. I would say another thing that I really liked. I think, well, I didn't necessarily. Get more into this later. I like Dave Bautista in this movie
Hmm.
as a lead, and I think you can tell that he's really improved as an actor from each film he does, and I think it shows here. And he does a good job as a lead. I don't think he's great by any means, but I think he does a good job.
Hmm.
Um, Action scenes, like you said, especially the final 30-40 minutes,
Hmm.
dude, that part rocks. I mean, as the zombie tiger, that's
Very
such
strong.
so cool.
I I have
Oh my god.
I love the when Batista's running across the tables.
Yeah,
That's just badass. That's so
yeah.
cool.
And when the guy sacrifices himself
Oh
by,
yeah.
he knows he's gonna become a
Oh
zombie and he
yeah.
blows himself up. I'm like, that's an awesome moment. Like
Hmm.
all of that stuff was just really great. It's shot really well. Zach's a big fan of shallow depth of field, I will say.
Yes, I
Um,
noticed that as well.
to the nth degree. And sometimes I'm like, man, it's a little much, but that's a stylistic choice, and it's like a very minor thing. I will say some of the gripes I had, the getting to the actual being in Vegas part took too long, frankly. This
Yeah,
is a 2.5 hour movie that I think should be 2:15 to 2 hours.
yeah.
And I think that would have made the film a lot tighter and it would have felt more immersive because there were points where I'm like, oh wait, they're still not in
There.
Vegas yet.
Yeah.
And it felt like some of the beats were a little bit repetitive.
Mhm.
But once they get there, that's where the story takes off and that's where I like it. It's just I really was kind of bored by some of
Sure.
the build up. I'm like, all right, this is typical build up. Anyone knows this is the get together. So
Mhm.
you got to cut it quick
Yeah.
because
I feel like
otherwise it's the same as every other film.
the bringing together part, I know, like for me, I feel like can sometimes be the most exciting part just to see everyone bouncing off each other. But also, I get what you're saying. Like, you also have to just do it in a way where it's just like, all right, on to the next person, on to like you have to keep it going, and like and just setting up everyone and setting up like the classic like stakes and whatnot.
Yeah, I will say, as I'm flip flopping back and forth between what I like and what I don't
Yeah.
like, I really like the guy who played the guy who had to crack the safe.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was awesome. He was probably my favorite character, I'd say, from Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It was interesting 'cause I thought he was gonna be like, oh, he's gonna be like the scared one, but I was like, no, he's just like the oddball. But it was like a really
yeah,
charming oddball. Like he's getting like he joins not for the money, he joins for the chance to like crack the safe, and I thought that was just pretty funny. And I know his character is the one getting one of the prequel spin-offs, so I'm interested to see that because he yeah, I agree, he was definitely a very fun character, and him bouncing off of Vanderho was really entertaining.
yeah, those two and their character relationship as they get closer and closer to the safe, and
Right.
how
Yeah,
their connection changes, I think is absolutely hilarious.
for sure.
I like the thematics of greed,
Hmm.
and how it corrupts and how it doesn't end well. I don't know if that's a main theme or if it's just something I took out of the film,
Hmm.
because basically everyone dies.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. But I will say I didn't buy Batista's relationship with his daughter.
Yeah, I can yeah, I can understand that.
Um, and I think part of that falls on just the chemistry. I don't think the two actors had great chemistry with each other. But I think the more important part was actually the dialogue.
Mm,
I found parts of dialogue repetitive. There were scenes that felt repetitive, scenes that felt like they had reached their end and then they kept on going,
yeah.
and dialogue that either felt melodramatic or kind of on the nose.
I feel like that might have been in part to like at least this is something I noticed for me, like he like they don't appear for being like the core relationship of the movie. They I don't think they appear enough that the parts that they do appear in, it feels like, give or take if you buy, because like there's still so much happen. Like I was surprised like halfway through the film I was like, I don't like Dave Bautista for being the lead hasn't said much, hasn't been done much. So I feel like one of the factors just like the vision of like focus amongst like the characters, so that like the relationship feels I don't know what the term I'm looking for is, but just doesn't feel like fully
Yeah.
formed or whatnot.
Yeah, it feels a little bit forced.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and that's one of the downfalls of spending so much time because they spent all that time out of there, and I didn't feel like they set those relationships out of the world because that's where those relationships, at least the basis, should be set really strong in those
Yeah.
foundations so that you're really progressing.
Right.
It still felt like they were laying those foundations into the second and third act
Mhm.
in trying to progress story arcs to the end, and it just felt like it didn't quite work for me.
They what they should have just simplified it to like she's upset he killed the mom, and then had that as like a mystery like reveal, if that's how they're gonna do it, like have it like
Right.
play out, but like revealing it early and then like keeping it going. I do like, yeah, I get that. Like it did feel like it was, I don't know, strained, or like straining that one
Yeah.
plot point for everything it had.
Yeah. And there are some characters where you're like, excuse me. Um, they don't really have that much of a, there's one guy, the guy who gets killed by the zombie tiger, plot device character, which you
Mm,
need.
right.
Um,
The
but it
turncoat.
feels, but it feels like the woman who was like in love with Dave Bautista. I'm like,
Mm.
does she even need to be in this film?
I think I think all of them had like their own like purpose. I think again it was just a matter of like the division of focus kind of like would randomly switch, and it would also randomly switch like they would dedicate a certain amount of time to a character, and then they would like expand it out of nowhere and be like what's going on. Like I like Cruz, that was like I think having like her and like Vanderho and Scott like being like that, like the people who actually know each other. I think that was like really important. I think it was just the focus of it feeling the division of focus made it feel like some characters were a little more superfluous than others.
Right, right. Yeah, it just, that whole where she's like, I didn't come here for the money. I came here because like
Mhm.
I love you. I'm like, I don't buy that at all.
Mhm.
I just don't. And then
Yeah.
I will say what was like gross, but
Oh,
also like epic. The neck move there. Oh,
I
that was so
usually
gross.
I feel like I've seen enough movies where I'm like I know when someone's gonna die, but I was generally caught off by that she would I thought she was gonna get off at least a shot or something, but and also yeah like it went full 360. I have not seen a kill like that. I don't think
It went
ever. It
full.
was just like a full yeah like I was like oh my god. I think the last time I saw something like that I guess well relatively recently was like Invincible, but that was like animated. I was expecting
Mhm.
like this was a full the
Yeah.
her like collarbone like pop. I was like, oh my
Oh,
god, oh.
yeah. That was gross. I was like, oh god. Like, oh my god. But
Mhm.
that fight that ensued when they're shooting him, and Dave
Everything,
Bautista is fighting that one zombie, and
yeah,
zombie's like going ham, like dodging, dodging, dodging.
yeah.
And Dave's just like, I'm done with this. It just grabs it and starts slamming it everywhere. I'm like, that is awesome.
We went for
Like,
the
this is what I want to
went for
see.
the Batista bomb. That's his move,
Yeah.
right? From WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everything after Cruz's death, like just action wise, like that's when everything started going haywire. That was just pure chaos, and that I really like. I really love to see. I think we already touched on that earlier, but like just the chaos of that like final like half hour or so was
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. I was so confused by something in this film.
Okay.
And that was, they needed the zombie head, right? And the
Yeah.
guy was like, well, we don't really need the money.
Mhm.
So we don't care about the money.
Yeah.
So why does he go back?
Wait, the guy who wait,
The
the
guy
guy
who
who
gets
gets
killed
killed off.
by the zombie tiger.
Okay.
Does he go back so there are no witnesses left to survive?
I think the like, well, no, because he locks them in the. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to like voice out the series of events that I remember them. So that he locks them in the door. He leaves. He checks the head. He finds it's the cash machine, and then he gets attacked by the tiger.
No, let me clarify. This is before when they saw the head off.
Oh, okay. It might have just been like a. I need to make sure everyone like properly dies, or like I need to
Yeah.
like I need to make sure they are in a position where they're probably gonna die instead of just like he gets the head and he just like books it to the edge or whatever. Also, because like he
Right.
needed the helicopter too. I think the plan was for him to go up, kill Tignataro, and then leave from there. I think it was just a matter of like him like just trying to make sure like positively that everyone was gonna die, even though of course that's not how it turned out. I think that at
Right.
least that's how I'm like trying to I guess reason it out in my head.
Yeah, I just know it stood out for me as like a, oh, that feels weird
Okay,
moment.
yeah,
Um, but I think overall, I liked this movie. I'd be down to see another one,
yeah,
maybe with less characters, that's more focused and can really focus in on the characters that they use.
yeah. That's
Um,
fair.
but I do think it was, I think the whole concept and the whole world they're building is a really cool thing, especially with the end with the guy who's bit. Is
Right.
like, oh god, like
Yeah.
he's probably going to be the new
The new alpha.
Zeus,
Yeah.
right? I think Zeus is what the character is called, the alpha zombie.
Right.
Um, the new Zeus of the next apocalypse, wherever that happens.
Hmm.
which I think that's cool, and the bigger world implications could be pretty dope.
Right. Yeah, I think like just like on a world base, like we've seen zombie apocalypses, how many times we've had a show running for Lord knows how many, too many seasons at this point. But like, I think this one is really unique. Like, I love the opening montage. I feel like we have to.
Yeah,
I love the montage. That was so dope. Like, just this because like I feel like often we see like the aftermath. We never actually see like everything going to hell. So like seeing like the airstrike, seeing like Batista and his team like saving people. Even I love they cut to like pictures of them holding pictures for like who they were
yeah,
before. I thought that was a great way to just speed through like these are who they are. This is what they've been through. This is what they've seen, and like that montage was amazing in my opinion. I love that so much. I'm just trying to think. That was like my main standout sequence. The other one for me was the fight in the one girl chambers, and like she was like,
oh yeah,
I was not expecting her to last that long. I was watching. I was like, this is the greatest Call of Duty Zombies solo play I've ever seen in my life. Just like when she like jumps through the window, she was like still alive. I thought that was really badass. I was really entertained by that. Just her taking everyone down and like surviving as long as she did.
yeah, she was a trooper. I mean,
Mhm.
they were regular, like, slow, brain dead zombies, but still,
She was holding her ground.
she was bawling. Like, she was
Right.
going ham.
Yeah.
And that dude was a jerk the way he did that. He
100%.
did her so dirty. And I love that they didn't give her like a off screen, like, oh, she got killed. They gave her like a impactful death that it affected the
Oh,
character, while
solid
also
treatment.
showed that she wasn't like incompetent. Like she was
I know.
probably one of the best
Yeah,
there.
that's what I love because I was like, okay, so you're the Slipknot of the team. That's what
Mhm.
I thought was gonna happen. But like, no, she went out like a like you said, like a true soldier. She went all the way to the end, and I really loved that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I just wanted to shout out those two sequences because I thought those were just really fun. I also think the VFX they did to get Tig Notaro in, I think there was only one
Oh,
shot that I was like, that looks edited in. Everything else I was really impressed by. And just performance wise from her to be acting against, I'm presuming green screens and like tennis balls, like that's really great. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I That's a fantastic point that it can't be commended enough to paint out a whole character from each individual shot and then have someone shooting against a green screen with acting across from no one because it's COVID.
Right.
So they can't have other actors on set. So that was just
That
stunning. I think it worked.
that's a really great just job on the VFX on Nataro, on Zach. The, like that's a crazy set of circumstances to like have to like go through and to pull off,
Yeah,
especially in
yeah,
like yeah, just like even in like group conversations, like that one scene where she's like, I'm technically the second most important, like she's fully like talking like within that group right there, and like it looked so seamless. I was like really impressed.
I wonder what they cut out of the film
Mm,
because of that, though.
yeah,
Because I have a feeling they did cut stuff out because of that.
probably like just little maybe like other like I don't know jokes or little like more scenes dedicated to the
Yeah,
actual flight or whatnot.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, but like it was like really impressive. I've got to say, and just
yeah.
putting a whole person in there admits
And
everything.
the final action sequence in the helicopter, I'm like, yes. Like Zack Snyder, if there's one thing we all know, it's he knows how to handle action extremely well. As my light falls down in the background, it scares me to death. Um, he's
What happened
great
in
at
was real.
yeah, he's great at stylizing. He's great at shooting action in just this really awe-inspiring way, and I think that stands out in some of the wide shots that whether it's a pan like a coming down from like one of those vast wide shots onto the group well as they're walking in. I'm like, man, this just looks so cool.
Yeah.
um,
I think. Oh, you go. Sorry.
yeah, I was just about to wrap up. So Nick, do you have any final thoughts before we give it kind of like a ranking among this
Yeah,
year?
I think this is a solid, just like 90s action. Like I'll put this on. I'll be entertained. Like, is it perfect? No. Do I? Is it a film I'm like really like underwhelmed by. Not like entirely. I think it's a solid. Just like I could watch it. I'll be entertained. Everything is like at a like perfectly suitable level for what it is. It's just zombie action. So um, I enjoyed it. And I'm excited to see like all the prequel stuff because I think there is like character wise and world wise, there's a lot to discover, a lot to tell.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I haven't seen enough films to really rank this well.
Yeah,
It's somewhere in my top five, given I've only seen 5 or 10 films of
right.
2021 so far. Um, but let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. We'll have a video on Dave Bautista spotlight on him coming out later this week. So check that out. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.